Hey guys, Dakota here. Today you can see again by the title of the video, Arm Wrestling Strap Basics and Getting What You Need. Now, when you look at the arm wrestling perspective from more of a wholeness perspective, you see there's outside of straps and there's inside of straps. And what I've been learning from my talks on the podcast recently is obviously depending on who you talk to, but there are some perspectives that outside of straps and inside of straps can almost be like the two different techniques. I think that's interesting. I maybe don't think that's exactly how I look at it, but I think there's some points that we can build off of today in this video to kind of give you a better idea of the arm wrestling strap. Now, the first thing I want to go over is this guy right here is something that you need to know. It doesn't matter where you're at in arm wrestling, but especially you people who are new, who maybe haven't arm wrestled in a strap before, need to understand that it's going to happen. You can't avoid it forever. Now, my dad is a great example of this. He is still learning the strap. He's been arm wrestling for a long time. He doesn't like it because it feels completely different. When him and I arm wrestle outside of straps, you know, he's probably got the edge. When we arm wrestle in straps, he's getting better, but I have the edge, and that's something that bugs him just because how does that even work? And yeah, guys, that's just kind of the basics of it. You need to know the strap. So I'm going to help you guys learn in kind of the best way that I can. Now, obviously, when we break down a strap, there's not much here. There is a strap. I got this one at the Shaw Classic, which is super awesome. You have your buckle and you have your strap. Very basic. Now, I'm not a believer in this, but a lot of people believe that the buckle determines a few things. Some people say you don't want buckle on your side and whatnot. Now, I'll get into that in a minute, but first off, let's say you have the buckle on your side. We'll go over how the strap is put on. The strap is wrapped like this. Now, in a real match, you would have your thumb up, the referee would hold it down. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to close my thumb. They wrap it. Since I have buckle, it goes down around both opponents' hands, over top of my wrist. Then it would go over another person's arm. Then it goes underneath through, and it comes up. And it gets tightened. Pretty straightforward. Kind of hard for me to show without a person, but if you go watch my shorts, if you watch some videos on here where I'm pulling in the strap, you can get an idea. Now, I don't think that the buckle determines whether you're going to win or not. I don't think it has advantage or disadvantage. One thing I will agree with people on, though, is when the strap is being tightened, the referee loops it through, and the referee loops it through again, and they're pulling downwards. Now, determining on where this strap is tightened on your hand and how you're fighting, when they reef on that strap and pull it down, it's causing your pronation to come over, and it's causing them to dump you a little bit, which isn't great. Now, there are ways to fight that, which I'm going to go over, but again, I want to rewind a little bit. That's the basics of putting the strap on, and really, as soon as the strap is getting applied, there's always things you can do to kind of getting what you want in the strap. Now, the first thing I always think is important, and I'm yet to be convinced otherwise. There's a few things people have talked to me about, but I'm convinced that low strap is always king. The lower the strap is when it's being applied, so when it gets put and then it gets wrapped around my arm, the lower that it's being applied, the more I pull backwards towards me, the lower my vantage point is. You think of, when you're pulling on a wrench or something, the more is better. Now, so I always think lower. Now, technically there's a rule, I think it's 2 fingers below the wrist line. Don't quote me on that. But I always say low, low, low. Put that thing as low as you'll go. That way, when I'm doing my top roll, I can use this point of the strap and this point of the strap to pull. Now, that kind of gets me to my next point in a way, is when they're tightening the strap on, so it's gone underneath and then it's being tightened on here. When it's being tightened on here, you want it not up towards your fingers. When the strap is being pulled up towards your fingers and they tighten it there, it's actually going to be pulling your riser incline down, and it just makes life a lot harder, basically. So you want the strap to be tightened down towards your wrist. This can be as simple as saying, hey, Mr. Referee, can you tighten the strap downwards when you put it on? They're not gonna say no. They're not gonna, unless you have a really bad referee for some reason, but it's their job to kind of get you what you want in that sense. they're not going to go crazy low, but they'll tighten it, you know, in this direction instead of tightening in that direction. Basic 2 things that you want: low strap, in my opinion, and you want to get it tightened off your knuckle line. Now, I've had some people tell me that, oh, higher strap is better for hooking, you get your cup initiated more. I still don't fully agree with this. From my personal experience of pulling in the strap, I always think lower is better no matter where I'm going. Now, as you arm wrestle in the strap, you're going to learn what works for you. But, I mean, this is kind of just my opinion, I guess, what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so now the strap's been applied, except for tightening. You've understood that you want it low, you want the strap off your knuckles. Now, this is a setup thing, but as the referee is pulling on the strap and you have buckle, you want to be holding yourself tight. And what I mean by that is when the referee pulls the strap, you shouldn't be going like this. You shouldn't be going like this. You should get locked into place. And as that strap's being tightened, you kind of want to work a little bit and fight it. So people will say this is cheating. If, in my opinion, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But I don't see this as cheating. I see this as staying fair. There's no way for them to tighten that strap without pulling you in a disadvantageous position. So when they're pulling, you are fighting just to keep yourself in a neutral position. Whereas if you're on the opposite side of the spectrum and you don't have the buckle, I still think these 2 things want to stay true. Obviously, the referees aren't tightening it off your wrist, so you want to ask them when they apply the strap and you don't have buckle, you just want to make sure that that is in that direction. That way, when it's being tightened, it's not pulling on your knuckles. It's going to be kind of pulling in this direction. Sorry, I might not have shown that great. So you don't want it this way. You want it this way when you don't have the buckle. Then, if you don't have the buckle and the referees are pulling tight, you're gaining pronation as well as you're trying to get some height. So you're kind of just going with the tightening of the strap, and you're getting some advantages. Now, I don't want to go too in-depth in this. I'll make more advanced strap stuff later on, but just the basics of getting what you want in the strap, I'd say those are important. Now, once the strap is tightened, then it goes back to my last video where I talk about either why your top roll, why your hook's failing. You want to get those same setups, but you just get them in the strap. If you get the setups that you want in the strap and you don't put yourself in a bad strap position right off the bat, then you're doing the best that you can with the amount of training you have in the strap. Now, one other thing that I want to kind of I don't know how I'm going to quite explain it, but you need to pull in the strap. When you're in the strap, you need to pull in the strap. You don't need to pull like you do outside of straps. I don't think holding on is the best thing ever. So if you're slipping and going to straps, then that's perfect, especially with someone, you know, where you may feel disadvantaged and you want to work the strap a little bit. But when the strap is applied, you have your 2 points. You have this point and you have this point, and those are what you pull with in the strap. You can hook in that direction, you can top roll in that direction, depends how you set it up. But for training purposes, we know the angles which we're going to be at in the strap, ideally. We know we have to get those positions. So when you're training, you might as well set yourself up so you're in those positions. If I'm working my pronation, I want this to be down here, and I want this to be down here. Then when those are applied, and I'm doing, you know, a pulling motion, whatever I'm doing, when the strap gets put on my arm, it doesn't feel so foreign to me anymore. Oh, okay, this is what I train, this is what I do. And it'll almost may feel less foreign, you guys, if you're doing movements like this all the time. And then you have those same pressures. You just pull with those pressures. You know, if you're fighting rise, you want to be pulling with that top part of the strap. You know, I'm fighting rise, I want to be coming this way. If I'm, you know, maybe just working on back pressure, low hand, something along those lines, I want to be pulling with this end of the strap. That's just something that I feel like a lot of people who are new to the strap don't always think about. You arm wrestle differently because the situation you're in is different. You now have pressure points, which you need to use to your advantage, and you need to gain those pressure points. You're not focusing on the whole arm wrestling the same way out of straps. You have to understand you're in a different scenario, and you need to work with the different scenario that you have. Now, the last point I want to get across for this video, guys, is you can follow everything I just told you to a T. You can work, everything you want in the strap, but until you understand it and until you train and arm wrestle lots in it, it's going to feel foreign to you. You need to go find somebody, club, whatever, and you need to arm wrestle in the strap. When I go to Red Deer Club, I was just there a few days ago, most of my training is inside of the straps because a lot of people aren't holding on nowadays. The game is revolutionizing. The game is changing. You see much more of the strap. Look at Mac, for example. Newer league, Ian Carnegie. If you slip, you stay in straps until the match is over. Not until the round is over, until the match is over. So this is something that's snowballing. It's coming in. It makes matches go faster. People who are watching it on TV don't have to see as much setup just for a slip. You know what I mean? So get used to it early. Teach your brain early when you're coming into arm wrestling, and it will help later on. Don't be those people who've avoided the strap for 25 years and now they got to learn to arm wrestle in it, and they're learning a whole new game. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, find a club. Look at the setups I just showed you. You have to do it to understand it. I can sit here and teach it to you all I want, but until you arm wrestle in it, until you find what you want, only then will you know how to use the strap properly for yourself. If you guys enjoyed, I really hope you subscribe, leave a like. It means a lot for my channel. You can catch me on Through the Fingers, where I talk about a bunch of these points with people, where I learn how to do these things, where I understand knowledge, and then I bring it over to this channel. I compress it for you guys so you can watch it at any time. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.